There's the ding. Hi, people.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Matthew.
We're recording this in the morning of Sunday, December 1st. What's the weather like where you are?
35 degrees when I woke up this morning, 41 as of now.
Oh, wow. Your temperature's not that much different. Do you have like 4 feet of snow on the ground?
Yeah, I do. No, but you do.
Yes, I have not left my house in 3 days because there is so much snow. I get to work from home tomorrow, but I'm very hopeful. I'm supposed to go to the office on Tuesday, but I'm very hopeful I'll get to work from home on Tuesday too.
Is the snow expected to continue through tomorrow?
Yeah, it's snowing right now.
Oh, my God.
It didn't really snow yesterday. It was sunny most of the day, but it was cold, so nothing melted. But it is snowing right now. I'm looking out the window at it.
So it's awful. This is why I moved away from Vermont and moved to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
someday, man.
It's a whole lifestyle. You just you adjust to it. You live within the parameters of what's there. And I remember doing that. I know how that works. But God damn it.
Yeah, not a fan.
Anyway, so what do we got going on this week?
All right. Well, there's been some new appointments to Trump's cabinet. There's been a lot of movement in corporate America. And Russia took out Ukraine's electrical grid.
Yeah.
And at the end, I watched some movies that I'll tell you about.
So did I. I've been binging a lot of shit, but yeah, we'll talk about that too. So let's dig into it. Where do we start?
All right. Well, Trump won the election and corporate America is cozying up to him, trying to get on board with his grift. Starts with Mika and Joe from Morning Joe Scarborough and Mika, whatever.
Brzezinski.
You'd think with my name I'd be able to pronounce her name, but didn't try.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you remember Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was, I think, Reagan's one of Reagan's cabinet people. He was a big Russian guy. That's her grandfather.
Oh,
yeah,
didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, so they sold.
So they spent the entire time Trump was president before and all the time leading up to this election talking about how dangerous he is and how he's a fascist dictator and terrible for democracy and everything. But now that he's elected, they went and visited him at Mar-a-Lago and their tone has changed completely.
Yeah. They sold us out.
Yeah, well, MSNBC is corporate news, so it's not surprising.
Yep.
Walmart, ahead of Trump taking office, has decided to end their DEI programs because they're expecting lawsuits about that. So they're preemptively just ending them.
Lawsuits from the Fed or
from white assholes claiming discrimination. You know, it stems from the affirmative action ruling that the Supreme Court had, where they essentially ended affirmative action. So they think lawsuits are coming where white people get to say they're oppressed. No, the fuck you're not, but whatever. That's what that's about. So they're trying to get ahead of that. And then Mark Zuckerberg went and visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And his statement afterwards was he wants to get on board with what Trump is doing. What Trump is doing, what he's going to spend the next 4 years doing, is enriching himself. And that's what Zuckerberg wants. Zuckerberg wants some of that grift.
Of course he does. There was on along those same lines of the grift. I saw a report this morning about the amount of money Elon Musk stands to make by his connection to this Doge committee. It's nothing more than the whole. I know I'm trying to stay grounded to the point you're on right now, and I promise there's a connection.
All right, meander.
I tried to make a post about this on social media, but I couldn't get the flow right for it. This advisory committee, it's a non-governmental committee that is not accountable to anyone. It's not accountable to anyone, this Doge committee. It's being run by two megalomaniacs who are going to make recommendations for removing consumer protections, among other things, so that the businesses that they oversee can further eviscerate the economy. It's fucking the insanity of that committee existing in the form that it exists, and the people that he has appointed to be in that committee, and what their mission is just it just blows my fucking mind. Unreal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the Doge committee is going to end up doing, but Musk has begun on his X platform sharing names of federal employees, not appointed employees, career employees, that he would like to see fired.
It's fucking unreal.
It is. It's insane. And by the way, if you don't think watching these rich assholes do this kind of stuff, if you don't think that if they can get AI working to the point where it can replace all of us, that they won't do that. They will. They will. If they could just have the world where it's just the rich assholes and they can have all their needs and wants taken care of by robots and shit, they would do that in a heartbeat.
I stand by an assertion I've been making for years, is that the function of a CEO and a CFO could be replaced by an algorithm. These individuals and their jobs and the money they garner from these positions is unnecessary. They do nothing that an algorithm couldn't do more effectively, which would cost nothing. Algorithms work for free.
Yep. Trump had another visitor at Mar-a-Lago this week. Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, went to visit him. One interesting thing to point out, why did Justin Trudeau have to go visit Trump? Why didn't Trump go visit Justin Trudeau?
Because Trump's not allowed in Canada, according to Canadian law.
Yep, they don't allow convicted felons into their country. So we elected a president that's not allowed to visit our nearest ally.
And I have asked the question, did Trudeau show up at Mar-a-Lago and greet Trump by saying, "How's your wife and my kid?" Because I don't know, I still believe that.
So Trudeau obviously is worried about the tariffs that Trump wants to impose on Canada. And Trudeau correctly assumes that Trump doesn't know how tariffs work. So that, according to Trudeau himself, that's what he went there for, to explain to Trump how tariffs work.
It's getting very tiring explaining this to everyone. And for people that are going to say, well, of course he knows how tariffs work. I'm going to take you back to that economic forum that Trump sat on a stage and was asked questions by somebody in front of an audience. It was a big deal. And his core principle for his fantasy about tariffs is that it will drive manufacturers to come back to the United States and produce their products here because it will be cheaper for them to do so. In the entire history of tariffs, it has never worked that way. It is an absolute fallacy that any manufacturer would consider that to be a viable option in the face of tariffs. They have never done it. They're never going to do it. It simply doesn't work that way. And Trump said it on a stage in an economic forum that that's how he plans to bring manufacturing back to America. It isn't going to happen. Not to mention the aspect of the things that we import that are unavailable in the United States. Let's talk about raw materials. Lithium. What are we going to do? Start mining lithium in North Dakota? No, we're not, because there isn't any there. Anyway, people take a look at the things that are going to be affected by these tariffs in terms of raw materials and start. I'm hoarding things right now that I know are going to be unattainable once these tariffs take hold. For instance, one of my hobbies is flying drones, and they use lithium polymer batteries. The cost of those batteries is going to go through the fucking roof mid 2025. And so I'm buying batteries now, and anything else that, and you and I talked about, this is more in response to the deportation of American workers. See what I did there? They're American workers. The cost of food going up. You and I talked about starting gardens. I'm starting my container garden in the backyard. I can do that this month because there are things here in Florida I can grow now. But yeah, I'm gonna be fucking living like a prepper for the next 4 years.
Yeah,
Fuck.
it's funny that those guys are going to be better off than the rest of us.
Well, I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So those guys
Yeah.
hit the lottery in terms of what their lifestyle has been. But
more about the tariffs bringing manufacturing back to the United States. First of all, big ticket items like automobiles, foreign car manufacturers do manufacture those here in the United States. Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Kia, they all have factories in the United States.
yes,
But they're importing a lot of the raw materials. So
Mhm.
those costs are still going to skyrocket.
Mhm.
If the tariffs did work that way and companies wanted to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States, where are they going to put them? Half the factories where I live are apartment buildings now. So
Mhm.
we don't have the manufacturing capacity
Mhm.
to do that. We don't have the labor to do that. We're almost at full employment now. So where are you going to put people? Where are you going to find the people to work there, especially after you deport all the American workers that you don't like?
So okay, in response to that, because I've seen this question asked before, somebody made a good point on one of my posts yesterday. Those if those things exist, if those factories exist, or they start retooling existing factories to produce things that they weren't normally producing, they're going to be staffed by prison population from the internment camps that we're going to be setting up to deport American workers. Can we normalize that, by the way? Can we start saying that this is what this deportation is? This is a deportation of American workers. That let's turn the script on this and push that out there. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the idea, is that these people that they're going to be rounding up and putting in these camps, while they're waiting to be deported, they're waiting for their due process. They're going to be bussed over to these factories, and they're probably going to be bussed right back to the broccoli fields that they were picking broccoli from, and under threat of the barrel of a gun, they're going to be picking the broccoli they were picking before, and then go back to their internment camp at night. It's just fucking, this is batshit crazy. It's fucking nuts.
And all this stuff we talk about Trump saying he's going to do, some of it he won't be able to do, but that deportation thing he will be able to do. Probably not at the scale that he wants, but that is something that he can do alone, and the executive branch handles that. He doesn't really need Congress for that, other than maybe funding the construction of more prisons because there aren't enough. But
this was personally, that was the final straw for me with a person who's been a friend of mine for years, who has slowly sort of been leeching onto the MAGA movement. And after the election, one of the things that he said that was the final straw for me was, oh, well, there aren't going to be mass deportations. This isn't going to happen. It won't happen. And that was it for me. And I just couldn't, that he was the last MAGA person in my life who became a MAGA person through the past 7 years. But yeah, it's the apologist sort of idea that he's not going to do these things. Well, then what the fuck did you vote for? What you voted for him knowing that he wasn't going to do it? How do you make these decisions? And by the way, on the deportation thing, Homan, am I pronouncing that correctly? Homan, that fat fuck border czar. He doesn't have his department, whatever that is. It's not even really a department. Border czar is kind of a made up thing. There's no arrestable powers within that office. So him running his mouth about, oh, this is some mayor somewhere said they were going to stop any feds.
Denver.
Yeah. And he said, oh, we kind of think alike. He's willing to get arrested. I'm willing to arrest him. You don't have that power, you fat, slimy fuck. God, I hate that man. I fucking hate him.
I hate him too. He's so smug and so racist. It's unbelievable. Yeah, so I'm sorry. The outlines are jumbled, James. What have you done?
Stop it.
Let's talk about Hegseth and Patel.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
let's.
So you don't think either one of them is going to get confirmed by the Senate? I hope you're right.
This is the thing, and I posted about this on Blue Sky last night. By the way, go to Blue Sky, drop X, or just don't post on X anymore. Go to Blue Sky and set up an account. Everybody, go now. The checks and balances that exist in our system with regard to who the president wants to put in cabinet positions and the function of the Senate and confirming these people, this is our last line of defense. And it's worked already. Who were the? It wasn't just Gates that dropped out, was it? There was somebody else. I think no. Tulsi Gabbard is also going to be dropping out of this. The Senate is not going to confirm her.
Yeah, the Senate is looking for her FBI records about her being a Russian agent. So apparently those already exist.
Yeah. But if the inherent checks and balances that exist within the function of the Senate in this process fail us, if those get circumvented somehow, it's not as easy to circumvent that with recess appointments as I once thought it was. So that's a win. If that shit fails us, all bets are off. It's all downhill from there, folks. So I'm hoping that the Senate does their job in keeping this in check, because I don't think Hegseth is going to make it through a Senate confirmation process. I don't even think he'll get to a Senate confirmation process. Patel, what the fuck? This guy is off his nut. He wrote a children's book called The Case Against the King or something, and the cover of the book actually has a cartoon drawing of Trump with a crown. And it's a book about what they call the Russian collusion hoax. Fucking dude. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I don't even know what to say. But yeah, he is awful. Patel is awful. All right. The other thing Elon Musk is doing, I don't think we even actually talked about this, but something I find hilarious is when Alex Jones's Infowars assets were being auctioned off to pay his fine to the families of Sandy Hook that he owes, $1 billion, right? A couple billion.
1.3 or something. Yeah, it's a lot.
So his assets, Infowars was seized and auctioned off to help pay those. And The Onion, the satirical newspaper The Onion, won the bid with blessing from the Sandy Hook families. So they are going to own Infowars, but Elon Musk has sent lawyers to fight the Onion from taking control of the Infowars Twitter accounts.
Now,
whatever
I don't know how this works. Can Twitter accounts be monetized? Is there some?
Yeah.
Okay, so then so the basis of Musk trying to intervene is that he actually owns these accounts, because that's how things work now. You don't own anything that isn't physical. So yes, Twitter probably does own those, but the Onion would be entitled to any monetization profit that comes from those accounts. It wouldn't be Twitter.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, his argument is since those don't technically belong to Infowars, they shouldn't have been included in the Infowars assets that were sold. I don't know.
If it's a financial asset, they're gonna get it. The Onion's gonna get it. I don't think there's any question about that. The actual, I hate to say it, physical tweets or the physical media, that's what Twitter owns, as far as I understand. So I don't know what Musk is really intending to do here, because it's pretty obvious that the ruling says that the assets, and that's a financial asset. If it makes money for Infowars, it now makes money for the Onion. So I think I don't know what he's doing. He's just trying to delay things. He's trying to obfuscate things.
Yeah. Well, and Alex Jones is trying to prevent the sale from going forward too. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I don't know if we talked about this either, but another person who owed some money and had some assets seized is Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my
And
God.
did you see him crying about how he doesn't have any money?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was some Schadenfreude right there. Schadenfreude, however you pronounce that German word.
What a character arc for that person.
I know.
What an unbelievable, go all the way back to when he took over as mayor of New York and did what he did to, because New York was pretty fucked up before Giuliani took over, but he got in there with his fucking organized crime mob, and for better or for worse, he straightened it out. And then came 9/11 with all the propaganda that came with 9/11, and he was America's mayor and he was beloved. And then he's whipping out his wiener for a fake interviewer in a fucking Sacha Baron Cohen movie. And then
he thought was a kid, right?
Oh my God.
He thought she was a student or something.
And now he's just disgusting. He is. He's a worm. Ugh.
Nobody has fallen so far.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Amazing. It's really amazing.
So, but watching him cry about not having money, they took everything. They took my car. They took my apartment. I have nothing. Yep. You're just like the rest of us now, Rudy.
Yeah. Fuck you.
So yeah, that was funny. All right. We ready to talk about the election again? I know we're several weeks past it, but some stuff came out.
This is heavy. This fucked me up last night when I saw what you put in the outline, and I'm reading this, and I'm like,
yeah. So, I think it's the number 2 podcast after Joe Rogan on Spotify is Pod Save America. It's a political podcast, Democrat leaning. It's a bunch of former Obama staffers that host it. I've never actually listened to it, but I've seen clips of it sometimes. But I heard about this episode they had where they had some Harris Walls campaign staffers on there. And they said some crazy things. So I watched it on YouTube. These Harris Walls campaigners said with a straight face that their internal polling showed they were never in the lead, that Harris Walls was never in the lead ahead of Trump, and that the campaign was doomed from the start and there was nothing they could do.
Fucking unreal.
They said that with a straight face. And when asked about some things that the hosts of Pod Save America thought they could have done, like separated themselves from Joe Biden a little bit, maybe break with him on his Israel stance, maybe break with him on the economy, since that's what everyone was blaming him for.
Mm-hmm.
And their response was, you just don't do that. Vice presidents always support their presidents. That's the rule. And she was never going to break from that. That is wild. Absolutely wild. They knew they were losing. They knew some things they could do to help. They explicitly didn't do them because it's just not traditional. What the fuck? What the fuck? And if you want to talk about political norms, because there are political norms, and Democrats seem to always follow them, but the Republicans stopped following those decades ago. Mm-hmm. Example, the director of the FBI is a 10-year term. That's explicitly it spans absolutely 2 presidents, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what. Mm-hmm. And that's because they're supposed to be outside of the political sphere of influence. That's why it's a 10-year term. When Trump was elected in 2016, he fired James Comey that had 6 years left on his term because he didn't like that James Comey investigated him. Mm-hmm. And he appointed Christopher Wray. Biden, adopting the norms again, left Wray in there the entire time he was president. But Trump doesn't like him now either. So he intends to fire him so he can appoint Kash Patel. Again, not adhering to the norms at all. Mm-hmm. Putting the director of the FBI squarely in the sphere of political influence, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
If law enforcement can have no say in the crimes committed by political parties, there is no end to what they can do.
Yep.
And it's terrifying.
All the guardrails are gone.
It's also important to note it is normal as after the election, but before the inauguration, for the FBI to do background checks on potential cabinet picks. Mm-hmm. So as the incoming president nominates their people for the cabinet positions, the FBI begins investigating them. There's a document that the incoming team or the incoming administration has to sign to make that happen. The Trump administration is refusing to do that. No transition has happened.
Hang on. I did see an update on that middle of the week that he has finally signed the paperwork for that.
Oh, joy. But are they doing background checks? Because I'm pretty sure he didn't want that. He wanted to wait until he got his new director of the FBI in to do the background checks. That he said that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's crazy to me.
It is. And I think that's one of the things that the Senate can. I hope that there's a function for the Senate in that confirmation process that they can force FBI background checks to happen. I don't really. I have a hard time thinking that whoever they appoint as the head of the FBI is going to change the internal structures of background checks. I mean, unless he's gonna put Patel in there, and then Patel is just gonna hide these background checks. They're gonna happen. They happen according to a process. There's a flow for how these things happen.
But they don't always happen because Ray himself stopped the background check on Kavanaugh.
Oh yes. Okay. Well, then
so they don't always happen.
That's what it is. Then it's either they happen or they don't, and they're going to make sure that they don't happen. Fucking.
Yeah. All right. So some other things these campaign staffers said on Pod Save America. They were pleased that they were able to attract moderate Republicans to the Democratic Party with some of their right-leaning changes they made to their rhetoric. What does that tell you, James?
That the party of the Democrats is just going to continue creeping to the right.
Yep. They're just going to keep moving right, trying to attract more Republicans and further abandon the working class, the leftists, the progressives even.
Mm-hmm. And universal
healthcare, forget it.
You and I flagged it. Yeah, you and I flagged this when it started happening, when the Democrats en masse started embracing the idea of Republicans siding with the Democrats, and I'm like, are you people ignorant to what you're actually seeing? It was incredible to me to watch people embrace Liz Cheney and any of these other disastrous, abhorrent Republicans and saying, oh yeah, she's on our side now. And it's been going on since Biden was the actual candidate, where people were referencing the difference between the Republican Party during the Reagan era and the current Republican Party, and saying the Republicans need to become more like Reagan's Republicans. That fucking set me off, because Reagan is largely where the shift began to happen, where the evangelicals took control of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And Reagan is a disgusting individual, was a disgusting individual. He can rot in the ground, and Nancy along with him, and the Democrats were just loving the fact that, oh, now we know that Reagan was the good guy. No, the fuck he wasn't.
I still think, and these next 4 years could change my opinion on this, but I still think Reagan, if I was rating the presidents, Reagan is worse than Trump. He did more damage to this country than Trump did in his first term. That could change because we're giving Trump another chance to do more damage. But yeah, Reagan is, well, it started with Nixon, but Reagan's the really one that hammered home the low taxes on rich fucks.
Mm-hmm. Trickle down economics.
Yeah. By the way, those 50s and that you Republicans are pining for because you think everything was better then, it was partly better only for white people, but partly better because of the high taxes on the rich fucks.
Mm-hmm.
The top tax rate was 90% in the 50s. 90%.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more distribution of wealth.
And somehow along the way, they were able to convince their constituents that we need to give tax breaks to these corporations. We can't keep taxing them like this, and we're going to tax the middle class at a higher rate. And they convinced these people that was the path to prosperity. How did this happen?
Don't know. I don't know. I was 6 when Reagan got his second term. I remember I voted for him. we had a thing, and I think I was in kindergarten, maybe first grade, but we learned about the election and we all got to vote, and I voted for Reagan. Obviously it wasn't a real vote, and I would never do that today, but yeah, I don't know. He was super popular. That's all I remember.
Yeah, it was one of the most lopsided. I don't know if the second win was, but the first one against Carter was one of the most lopsided wins in the Electoral College.
Yeah, the second one was too. He won 49 states.
That's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's when he ran against Mondale, right?
Right.
Mondale was a buffoon. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, it was eye-opening watching those Harris Walls staffers say the things they said, and they said it with a straight face, like there was nothing wrong with what they were saying.
Yeah,
that is crazy to me. So the Democratic Party is not equipped, clearly, to save us from fascism. They just aren't. So do with that information what you will.
I don't know how there isn't among the I'm going to call them what they are, the blue MAGA folks, how there isn't an exodus going on from the Democrat Party. Because, well, I do know, because they, on one aspect of that, they've been fully vested in the Kool-Aid of Kamala Harris is going to save us. Well, she didn't, and she can't, and she won't. That ship never set sail. Not that it sailed, but it's a fucked ideology. But they don't have anybody to gravitate toward, and so they're still going to be, vote blue no matter who. Well, that doesn't fucking work anymore.
No,
that got us where we are. Hello, that got us where we are. Do you like where we are? If you do, go to hell.
Yep.
Ooh, that's going to get us some hate.
Yeah, that's all right. Bring it on. Okay, that's enough with domestic stuff. Let's go overseas.
Russia, Ukraine. Oof.
Russia, Ukraine. All right, so this week, Baxter, we're not done yet. Russia took out Ukraine's electrical grid this week. 200 missiles. Biden sent a strongly worded letter in response. Zelensky is now begging for NATO membership, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, what I saw was allegedly he implied or stated that he would cede Ukrainian territory in exchange for NATO membership, and that would end the, quote, hot phase of the war.
Yep.
I haven't seen anything debunking that. I still see stories where he said this, so I'm assuming he said this. Yeah. I don't think NATO membership is going to work that way. I know that they've already begun the process of reviewing Ukraine's application for membership in NATO.
I don't think they would ever admit them while the war is still going on.
Yeah, I think they've been they've stated that very clearly. By the way, the tankies that are all over social media love to say that this war exists because of NATO encroachment upon Russia, and how there was an agreement, I guess it was with Gorbachev, that when the wall came down, that NATO agreed they wouldn't expand any further west. East? Yeah, east. Okay, so they wouldn't do this expansion. I want people to understand that NATO doesn't go around trying to sell themselves to other countries. Other countries apply and seek membership in NATO. And they do it for a reason. They do it because they know that there is a dangerous neighbor in that area that will, in fact, expand their empire at any opportunity. And so it isn't that NATO is going around saying, hey, you want to join us? You want to join us? You want to join us? No. These member countries that seek membership in NATO are doing so because it's inherently unsafe to be out on your own and isolated in that region. It isn't a club that is trying to recruit people. It is there, and NATO member countries seek membership for a good reason.
It's also important to note that no such treaty exists.
Which treaty?
There was
Yeah.
no agreement between the Soviet Union and NATO that NATO wouldn't expand east. That's not a thing.
Now, in light
Gorbachev
of,
himself said so when the Baltic states joined NATO. He was asked about that, and he said himself there was no such agreement because at the time NATO and the Warsaw Pact existed together. There was no consideration that they would, expand into the Warsaw Pact nations at the time. So there was no reason to put that in the agreement, and it wasn't in the agreement. You know what was in the agreement, though? That Russia would provide security to Ukraine if they gave up their nuclear weapons, which Ukraine did, and they did not get that security, did they?
Yep. I was going to point that out.
Did exist.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Also, can we talk about Kim Jong-un? He said this week, Russia has the right to defend itself from Ukraine. What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God. He's been watching our mainstream media and the Israeli Gaza situation. Apparently, that's where he's getting his talking points from. Oof.
How you can look at that conflict and get that so backwards is crazy to me.
Well, it's North Korea. I mean, the regime there functions under the principles of fantasy. So,
yeah,
Lord.
Kim Jong-un, if you're listening, I don't think we have anyone in North Korea, but we do have Boris in Russia. We do have Boris listening. Russia started that war, you dumb fucks. There's nothing to defend themselves from. All right. You know what? Another thing I want to talk about. Did you see Lindsey Graham saying that the International Criminal Court rules don't apply to Israel and the United States because when they were conceived, it wasn't to go after the West.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see that. It was like blatant.
He just said out loud, the laws don't apply to us because we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That guy, Lindsey Graham is one of the bigger pieces of shit out there, for sure.
He can't
I wish somebody would out him.
Well, yeah, I don't think he has much time left in his political career. He's got to be. Who was the? Okay, there was Dianne Feinstein who just succumbed to her age, and there was a dude too that got so fucking old and just became unfunctional.
That happens all the time.
Well, yeah, but there was somebody that was high up in the process. But I think Lindsey Graham is probably in the sunset.
I don't think so, man. He's not that old.
Really?
I don't.
Hey,
think
Google, how old is Lindsey Graham?
69 years old.
What?
Yeah, he's not that old, man.
Holy shit. That's unfortunate.
It's up to South Carolina to get rid of him, and I don't know if they're going to do that. All right. One more thing overseas. There was the ceasefire agreement between Lebanon and Israel. 6 hours after that went into effect, Israel bombed Lebanon.
Surprise.
So there you have that. And I don't remember Biden sending a strongly worded letter to them about that. But yeah.
Oh, and who Huckabee, that's who he's appointed as his envoy to Israel, right?
Mike Huckabee or Sarah Huckabee?
Mike Huckabee.
Mm.
Yeah. And another appointment that we missed was Kushner being appointed as the ambassador to France.
Yeah.
I don't really care so much about that. That's pretty
Kushner Senior, not
right.
son-in-law.
Yeah. I'm not too upset about that because that's a pretty impotent position, ambassador to France.
Yeah, ambassadorship is the one appointed political appointment that has always gone to gift givers, right? That the Democrats do that too, because there's no real responsibility there. You just go to dinner parties in whatever country you're the ambassador to,
and you enrich yourself and you grow your wealth. That's
normal. It's not so normal putting your friends in cabinet positions, but ambassadorships, that's normal. Although you wouldn't normally put somebody in there that is a criminal, although Trump pardoned him, so I guess he's not a criminal anymore. That's how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, do you think talking about pardons, you want to make a prediction on whether or not Joe Biden is going to pardon Hunter Biden?
I don't believe he will.
I've seen some left-leaning people making a case for why Joe Biden needs to pardon Hunter Biden. I can't tell you what those points were, but there's a lot of people that think that he will.
Look, I wouldn't care if he does. Like we already talked about, Democrats stick to the norms way too much, and that would be a norm. You wouldn't pardon your son.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that principle then for a second, because so what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that we need to both sides need to descend further into chaos, and instead of trying to set up systems that will hold the Republicans accountable to norms, make these norms laws, make these norms standards. Let's play ball like the Republicans do. Are you really saying that? It's okay if you are.
They have to, James. They have to. I mean, they don't have to specifically do that. But Biden should have removed Louis DeJoy from Postmaster General. He should have removed Christopher Wray from the FBI. He could have done those things, and he didn't. That's what I'm saying. Trump's going to do all that. He's going to put sycophants everywhere.
Yeah.
And Biden didn't do that. That's the thing he should do. I'm not saying he should pardon his son. I don't think he should, and I don't think he will. But Democrats should, if they ever get the presidency again, which is a big if they're going to have the attitude that they can't do anything to attract more votes, they need to get rid of everybody that Trump puts into office now. They should, in fact, they should investigate. They should have the FBI investigate every single one of his judicial appointments and find dirt on him. They should do that. They should fucking, what's his name? The first FBI guy. The guy that was the FBI director for 48 years, which is why they have 10-year terms. Hoover. They need to jag or Hoover Trump's people. I mean, normally I wouldn't support that. But you got to fight fire with fire, right?
So the norms, let's be clear that these are norms. They're not laws. They're not standards. There's nothing enforcing these things that we were calling norms. Right. These norms existed for generations. Did these norms make the political processes better or worse while they existed? Forget about what the Republicans are doing. Did those norms make a better political system while they were being followed? Did they?
Yes, I think so. I don't think you want to be changing everybody at all these federal agencies every 4 years or every 8 years even.
Yeah.
I think it's good to let the FBI director have his 10-year term. But if the Republicans aren't going to do it, then why should the Democrats, right?
But and I get that, and I see how the momentum for what we've become as a country has moved us into this direction of knowing that continuing to follow these norms is going to continue to be a loss for the people following those norms. And the only thing left to do, because it's a dichotomy. There is a respectable process and there's an abhorrent process. And the country as a whole is now fully tethered to the abhorrent process, the disgusting, corrupt, blatantly awful processes that are self-serving and self-indulgent for the people in power. You're right. We have no choice. There's nowhere else to go with this. There is no middle ground. And hopefully what this does, this is part of a lot of people have been talking about how this is just the pendulum swinging the other direction, and the pendulum will swing back, and so on and so forth. Hopefully that's what this does. If the Democrats abandon all the norms that the Republicans have abandoned and play ball according to the new basement level ethics that are going on, that it will push the pendulum back the other direction in the next 20, 30 years. It's going to take that long. Hopefully that's what it does. I'm not disagreeing with you that the Democrats are going to continue to miserably fail us if they adhere to the norms that the Republicans are not adhering to. I don't disagree with you. I am trying to get my head around where the pendulum is and what the only option is. And this is why I said, if these lunatics that Trump is putting in these cabinet positions actually get seated in these positions, let's just all do crime, because there's no foundation for anything anymore. And so not only do the Republicans or the Democrats need to stop following these norms that are getting them nowhere, we need to stop following these norms that are getting us nowhere. Let's just pull out all the stops and play ball the way that they want to play ball. They hate it when we do that, by the way. They hate it when we treat them the way that they've been treating us. They really hate it. I kind of like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I would love for all the unions to join together and shut down the country for a week and then make some demands. It's not going to happen, but I would love it.
Yeah. I would too.
But yeah, I mean, about the norms making things better, it was objectively, because you didn't notice so much difference from one administration to the next, even when you went from Republican to Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans would do a little bit more deregulation. They'd cut the taxes for the rich a little bit more, but they didn't make widespread changes like Trump is doing.
Yeah.
They kept more or less the status quo. And yeah, I think that was better.
Well, yeah, and one of the other differences, though, just in terms of changes that would even be possible from one administration to the next, is if you go back 25, 30 years, the balance of power in Congress was very different. You would have 15 or 20 Republicans that would vote with Democrats on legislation, and you'd have 15 or 20 Democrats that would vote with Republicans on legislation they proposed. That is completely non-existent now. We are down to Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin controlling every piece of legislation that comes through. The margins between if it's not a direct reflection of the absolute division in this country as a whole, as represented by the elected representatives we put in there, how it's just 50 fucking 50. And everything that we see now on the news is, there's still races that are still being tallied. There's still races that haven't been called. There's far fewer this week than there were last week. But it is the election of one person to a Senate seat that is the tipping point for the potential for legislation to move. One person. It's crazy. It's just fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is where we need to have 5,000 senators.
We should have 0 senators and 5,000 House members.
There you go.
That's what we should have. But yeah. All right. Enough depression.
We needed distractions, and we do distractions by I do binge watching shit.
Yeah, you watch stuff way faster than I did, but I have watched the first 3 episodes of season 2 of Silo. You told me you don't like the premise.
The overall premise of people being that fucking, and I say this knowing that we sit here doing this podcast largely because people are fucking stupid, but there's something about, and maybe it's not so far-fetched that people could be that gullible that this would be a real scenario that people would fall for.
I mean, I don't even, the people in the show didn't fall for it. They've been, they're generations later.
Yeah.
They went into those silos like 1,000 years ago or some shit.
Yeah.
And they don't even actually know how long ago because there was a war. Like, right? There was this is from season 1. There was like a rebellion in the silo, and all the rules that you're introduced to in the season 1 are because of that rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the records from before the rebellion are lost, so they don't really know what happened there.
That's these red level relics, like the hard drive.
Yeah, that's to prevent them from finding out what really happened.
Yeah. So
right?
we don't know.
I don't know. I like the premise of the show. I think it's a great show.
Yeah.
And I told you after I had watched season 1 or episode 1 of season 2, I told you I missed the old characters, but then they all came back in the next 2 episodes. So
to me, the whole thing, it just seemed okay. I guess there is one specific point in that series that really sums up what bothers me. First of all, what the fuck is this cleaning the lens shit? What is that?
You clean the windows so that they can see outside.
What the fuck?
You get sentenced to death, but you have an opportunity to like redeem yourself by cleaning the windows so the people behind can see outside. That's what that is.
So it seems so obvious to me that the people, and in this Juliet character, she volunteered to do this. She wasn't sent out there, or maybe she was. That's still debatable.
Well, she was. She said, "I want to go outside," and if you say it, you have to go.
That's weird on its own, but it seemed fairly obvious to me with the, I'm going to call them executions because they send these people out there to die, the people that were sentenced to go out there to die. It seemed very clear to me that the life support system in the suit was actually designed to kill them. It wasn't what's outside that's killing them. It's they had a booby trap in their suit where it would release the toxic gas after a specific amount of time and kill them because they all died wearing their suits. So
but did they? Yeah, I guess they were booby trapped. But the air is poisonous, right? I mean, Juliet changed the filter in her suit, and that's why she didn't die.
But she also tore her suit off.
Yeah, when she got to the other silo, she did.
She was inside the silo when she did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody from that silo was dead, so they died outside. And they said the guy that was behind said it was because of like the gas came. They lived for a while and then the gas came or something.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out more, but
yeah, I'm sticking with it. I've lost track of what day the new episodes air, and I gotta search my torrent sites to find out.
I just look. It's usually in the top 10 when I see episode 4 in the top 10. That's when I'll get it. All right. I also watched Red 1.
I haven't heard of this. What is it?
That's the Santa Claus Got Kidnapped movie with The Rock. You've heard of it. You had to have.
No, I haven't. Now I have. Yeah.
So it's dumb. It's very dumb. My kids couldn't finish it, so sometimes I'll say, well, maybe it's just meant for kids. But my kids, 11 and 9, they watched like the first 20 minutes and then weren't interested anymore. So I don't think it's going to become a classic.
No, doesn't sound like it.
And we both watched Conclave.
Yes,
that was good.
I liked it. I started it and I was like,
I think we should we shouldn't spoil this one just in case, because it's new.
Let's not.
It's new. But if you want to know what it's about the election of a new pope after the previous pope dies, and the struggle between the conservative cardinals and the liberal cardinals about what direction they want to take the Catholic Church. That's what it's about.
And it looks about midway through, I think it looks like there was going to be a theme that was developing that's very specific, having to do with things that are relevant in real life today. But then it takes a glorious turn. So don't think that the impactful event that happens midway is actually what the greatest asset of the movie is, because it isn't until you get to the final few minutes that I loved it. It's
very good. I loved it too.
I love seeing the potential for the Catholic Church to have its nose rubbed in its own shit. to be for real.
Oh yeah. Anything else you watched? That's all I watched this week.
I decided to, because I'd watched all the prequels to Yellowstone, 1812 and 1848 or whatever those were. Those were really good. But then I started a couple of years ago trying to watch Yellowstone, and I really couldn't get hooked into it, but I decided to, and I am fully hooked into it now. So I'm up to season 4, and it's worth it. I like it.
All right, you'll have to tell me if the order of watching them matters, because I know Yellowstone was first.
To me, it does matter. It does matter because there is I think the 1812 and 1848, whatever the names of those two series were, might be better than, just story-wise, and the characters might be better than what Yellowstone actually is, but it really gives you an appreciation for the character arc and where the story progressed through history to present day. So I really recommend watching those prequels first before getting into Yellowstone.
All right. And Yellowstone is still going, right? There's still new episodes of that, right?
Season 5 is I think it just aired its finale. So season 5 is the final season for Yellowstone, and it's apparently pretty impactful. But yeah, I think it just recently aired its finale because there's a lot of controversy about how they wrapped up certain characters, but it's definitely good. I like it.
Yeah. While we were recording this, my trainer asked me why I didn't do my run yesterday. And because I did tell her on Friday, I was like, yeah, it's going to snow, but I don't mind running in the snow. But I can't even get out of my house. Unless I run back and forth between my living room and my kitchen, I ain't getting my run in.
Is your trainer local?
No, she's in Florida.
Okay. I was going to say, like, how does she look out her window and not see the adverse conditions?
Well, I do think Erie made the national news.
Oh, it did, for sure. Yeah.
Because we had lots of people stuck on I-90 that runs from somewhere in New England all the way to Seattle, right? It's one of the longest roads in the country,
I guess.
It runs through Chicago, I know. It runs through Syracuse, Buffalo, Rochester, Erie, Cleveland.
Because when you talk about lake effect snow, the place that comes to mind is Buffalo. Buffalo is famous for its lake effect snow. Do you not normally get this lake effect snow?
Normally we do. We haven't lately.
Really?
Climate change, right?
Yeah.
We've had the last time we got a snow like this was 2017 because everybody was talking about it. It was Christmas Eve, 2017. We got 4 feet of snow in 24 hours. But yeah, lake effect snow, 6 inches is normal. More than that is not. Like it'll snow 1 inch or 2 inches an hour for 3 or 4 hours. You'll get 6 to 10 inches maybe, and then it stops. Having this band of snow sit here for days. It's still snowing right now. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's still snowing right now. That's about 1 inch an hour pace, I would say. It's supposed to snow all day. We can get up to 20 more inches today. That's not normal. That doesn't happen all that often, but it's happening because a week ago, Lake Erie was 60 degrees. The water in Lake Erie was 60 degrees. It's probably still 55 degrees, right? Water takes a long time to cool down. And that's what's feeding this. But it's the air currents that are making it sit here. Normally this would move past. It would drop lake effect snow here. Then it would drop lake effect snow in, northern New York, like Watertown, Oswego, and then it would go off into New England. But this one's sitting here. And it's just, and the only reason we didn't get snow yesterday, the band of snow still existed. It just moved a little bit north and it was out over the lake. So we weren't getting hit here, but it's moved back south and we're getting it right now. So I feel bad for my dog. We literally have waist deep snow in the driveway. I did clear out a little path for him to do his business right in the driveway, but he's not used to going in the driveway. But I'm like, I ain't shoveling the goddamn front yard, man. You got to make do. So I remember
I moved from South Texas to Vermont back in 2000. I moved there in July, and the first snowfall was in late November. And it had been decades since I've had to experience snow. And that first snowfall that year was 6 feet of snow. I woke up in the morning to my Jeep just missing. It was gone. It was buried. And it was nothing for that state. It was like the guys that run the snow removal tools and the plows and everything, those are fucking heroes. They watch these weather patterns religiously, and they position their equipment so that they're an army of massive snow plows and dump trucks and everything else that are out there in the wee hours of the morning getting the roads cleared, because that 6 feet of snow didn't stop anything in Vermont that day. Everybody got, I remember calling my job that I moved up there for, and I'm like, there's 6 feet of snow outside. They said, yeah, why are you late for work? There's no reason to be. It was amazing to me, but you learn to live with it. You learn to adapt.
I got an opposite related story when I lived in Atlanta. The first time it snowed when I lived in Atlanta, it was like 2 inches. And I was the only one that showed up to work that day.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, there was a time when I lived in South Texas where it actually snowed in Brownsville, Harlingen, Texas, and when I say snow, there was a dusting of snow, and it shut the cities down. Which it makes some sense because they aren't equipped for it. They don't have equipment to salt the roads or sand the roads or do anything. So everything just shut down with just a dusting of snow.
They just closed our roads more.
How do you
only emergency vehicles until further notice?
Wow.
Medical employees and emergency vehicles only.
It's crazy.
That's new. So I guess we're going to get a lot more snow today.
Well, you're working from home tomorrow, so lucky you. And I am on vacation for the next 7 days. So
yeah, and all the local universities canceled classes Monday and Tuesday, so I'm hoping I get to work from home Tuesday too.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with all that, Matthew.
Yeah, I don't even own a shovel. I got to borrow one from my neighbor. I went to go buy one Friday morning, and I couldn't find one.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I was like, oh, I'm going to need one. We're going to get a bunch of snow. But I couldn't find one. I got a broom. That's how I cleaned off a path with a broom. Making do. But all right, James, nice talking to you as always. If you're made it this far, like, subscribe, whatever. Leave us a review if you're listening to us on a podcast app. Those are the words that let him know we're done.
Good dog. All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
Yep. See ya.